Ever feel like you're just constantly like battling with that voice inside your head? You know, the one that's always second guessing like every move you make, dredging up those past mistakes, or just making you feel kind of less than awesome. Well, what if I told you that like understanding this inner voice could actually be the key to, living a better, more fulfilling life?
It might sound a little counterintuitive, but that internal chatter, while sometimes annoying, can actually be really powerful when you learn to kind of harness it. It's like having this untapped resource inside of you that can help you do all kinds of things, like achieve your goals, manage your stress, even improve your relationships.
So it's not about silencing that inner voice,
Yeah.
just like learning to work with it.
Exactly. Think of it like training a puppy. At first, it might be all over the place, chewing on your slippers, barking at squirrels, but with the right guidance and practice, it can become like a loyal companion, helping you navigate the world with more confidence and ease.
Okay, I like that analogy. So how do we even begin to understand this? I mean, is it really more than just random thoughts bouncing around in our head?
Oh, it definitely goes deeper than that. In cognitive science, we often refer to this inner voice as verbal working memory, which is a fancy way of saying it's the part of your mind that helps you hold on to information, for those short periods of time.
So like when I'm trying to remember a grocery list without writing it down.
Precisely. Or when you repeat a phone number to yourself before you can type it into your phone. But it's more than just a mental notepad. Your inner voice is also constantly simulating and planning. It helps you rehearse for presentations, brainstorm solutions to problems, even navigate those really difficult conversations.
Wait, so you're saying my inner voice is actually helping me prepare for that big meeting that I've been dreading?
Absolutely. It's like having this internal coach,
Yeah.
constantly running drills and strategizing. And here's where it gets really fascinating. Research has shown that this inner voice can even boost your motivation and your physical performance.
Hold on. Are you telling me that simply talking to myself during a workout can actually help me push through like that extra set?
There's actually a ton of evidence to support that. Studies have shown that athletes who use motivational self-talk during training can significantly improve their endurance, their strength, and even their technique. It's like unlocking this hidden reserve of willpower and energy.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm starting to see how understanding this inner voice can have some really practical applications. But what about those times when it feels less like a helpful coach and more like a relentless critic?
Mhm.
The voice that just won't stop replaying our anxieties, insecurities, and past blunders.
That's what we call chatter, that negative side of the inner voice. And it can trap us in this cycle of worry and self-doubt. It's like having a tiny heckler in your mind, constantly whispering negativity and undermining your confidence.
And that's where things can get really frustrating, right? It's like this chatter drains all our mental energy. It makes it harder to focus, to solve problems, and, just generally enjoy life.
Exactly. And one of the reasons chatter can be so debilitating is that it acts like a sponge. It soaks up those valuable attentional resources. These are the same resources that we need for things like creative thinking, problem solving, even emotional regulation.
So if our minds are constantly preoccupied with all this negative chatter, it's no wonder we feel so exhausted and overwhelmed, right? It's like our brains are just running on like low battery power.
That's a great analogy. And what's even more concerning is that chronic chatter can actually contribute to some more serious mental health issues, like anxiety and depression.
Okay. So we've established that this inner voice is more than just random thoughts, and it can be both like a powerful tool and a major pain point. So how do we start taming this beast? What are some practical strategies for managing chatter and harnessing the positive potential of our inner voice?
Well, luckily, there are a number of evidence-based techniques that can help us do just that, and that's what we'll be exploring in the next part of our discussion.
Perfect. I'm ready to start rewiring my inner dialogue and turning that critic into a coach. I have a feeling things are about to get really interesting.
So let's dive into some of those practical strategies for managing chatter and cultivating a more positive inner dialogue. One technique that might sound a bit strange at first, but it's surprisingly effective, is called mental distancing.
Mental distancing. Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's all about creating a little psychological space between you and those negative thoughts. Imagine you've got a friend who's going through the same situation you're stressing about. What kind of advice would you give them?
Probably something along the lines of, don't worry so much, you got this, or, it's not the end of the world, just focus on what you can control. The kind of like rational, supportive advice we often give others, but rarely extend to ourselves.
Exactly. And that's the key to mental distancing. Instead of getting all caught up in those emotionally charged thoughts, try talking to yourself in the third person, using your own name. So instead of thinking, I'm so stressed about this presentation, I'm going to mess it up, try saying to yourself your name, you've prepared well, and you're going to do great. It might feel a little silly at first, but it creates a subtle shift in perspective that can help you detach from those negative thought patterns.
It's like tricking your brain into thinking you're talking to someone else, which allows you to approach the situation with more objectivity and compassion. I can definitely see how that could be helpful. What are some other strategies we can try?
Another powerful technique, especially for those late-night anxieties, is mental time travel. Imagine you're looking back on this current situation a year from now. How much will it matter then? Chances are those worries that seem so overwhelming right now will feel much smaller and less significant in the grand scheme of things.
I actually do something similar when I can't sleep. I picture my future self rolling her eyes at my current worries and thinking, oh, your name, you were so dramatic back then.
Right.
And it actually helps me calm down and get back to sleep.
That's fantastic. You're intuitively tapping into the power of temporal distancing, which helps us recognize that our current emotional state is temporary and it doesn't define us.
So we've got mental distancing and time travel. Are there any other tools in this mental toolkit you mentioned?
Absolutely. Another incredibly effective strategy is journaling. Putting those swirling thoughts and worries down on paper can help impose order on what often feels like mental chaos.
You mean actually writing out my worries instead of just stewing on them?
Exactly. It's like taking those jumbled thoughts and turning them into coherent sentences, which helps you process them more effectively. There's even a specific journaling technique called the Pennybaker method, where you write about your worries for a set amount of time each day. It's a very structured approach that can be incredibly helpful for people who tend to overthink.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that. Sometimes it feels like my brain is just like a tangled mess of thoughts, and I could really use some help sorting them out.
And let's not forget the power of exercise and nature. Physical activity can be an amazing outlet for that pent-up energy and mental tension. It allows your subconscious to work on problems in the background. So you might even find that solutions just kind of bubble up while you're focusing on your workout.
You mean my best ideas will come when I'm on the treadmill? That's interesting. I've definitely noticed that I feel more clear-headed and creative after a good run, or like a hike in nature.
And nature has this incredible restorative power. Even just those gentle distractions in a natural setting, like watching clouds drift by or listening to birds sing, can help replenish those depleted attentional resources that we were talking about earlier.
It's like hitting the reset button on your brain. And then there's that feeling of awe that you get when you're in the presence of something vast and incredible, like a towering forest or a breathtaking sunset. It's like all your worries suddenly feel smaller and less significant.
Exactly. Experiencing awe can help shift our perspective and remind us that we're part of something much larger than ourselves, which can be incredibly grounding and humbling.
So we've got mental distancing, time travel, journaling, exercise, nature. This is quite a toolkit. But what about those times when I just need to talk it out with someone?
Social connection is incredibly important, but it's crucial to be mindful of how we go about it. Confiding in those trusted individuals can be incredibly helpful. But sometimes just venting can actually make us feel worse.
You mean when you get stuck rehashing the same negative stuff over and over again?
Exactly. It's like digging yourself deeper into a hole. What you want is to connect with people who can offer support and validation, but who can also help you see the bigger picture and move towards solutions.
It's like a chatter advisory board. People who can help us untangle those messy thought knots. I love that.
And when it comes to setting goals and overcoming obstacles, there's a powerful framework called the WOBU-O technique. It stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan.
Okay, I'm all about achieving goals. Break it down for me. How does WOOP work?
First, you define your wish or your desired outcome. Then you visualize the positive results of achieving it. Next, you anticipate any internal or external obstacles that might stand in your way. And finally, you create an if-then plan for each obstacle, outlining specific actions to overcome them.
So it's like proactively tackling those challenges before they can derail me.
Yeah,
I like it. It's like giving yourself a mental roadmap for success.
Exactly. And speaking of navigating challenges, it's not just our own emotions we have to manage. We also need to be aware of how feelings can spread from person to person, almost like a virus.
Emotional contagion.
Right. You got it. And it's something we encounter all the time, whether it's the infectious enthusiasm of a crowd at a concert or the negativity that can pervade a stressful work environment.
It's like you can almost feel the mood of a room shifting.
Absolutely. So how do we navigate these shared emotional landscapes, especially when things get intense?
Yeah, how do we keep from getting swept up in the emotional undertow, especially if it's heading in a direction we don't want to go?
One key is to recognize when our emotions are being influenced by others and to consciously choose how we want to respond. It's about building that emotional intelligence muscle. But sometimes we need more than just emotional intelligence. We need wisdom.
Okay, now you're talking about a whole other level of mastery. What exactly do we mean by wisdom, and how does it relate to, like, managing our inner world?
Wisdom is about having that deep understanding of life and using that knowledge to navigate complex situations with grace and insight.
So it's not just about knowing a lot of stuff, it's about applying that knowledge to live a good life.
Exactly. And when it comes to the elements of wisdom, humility is key. Recognizing that we don't have all the answers and being open to different perspectives.
So it's like stepping back and trying to see that bigger picture, understanding where other people are coming from, and maybe even learning from their experiences.
Precisely. And along with perspective taking, wisdom involves adapting to change and having that long-term focus on what's truly important.
Kind of like that saying, don't sweat the small stuff.
Exactly. Wisdom helps us prioritize what truly matters and let go of the things that don't. And that brings us to another important aspect of wisdom, emotional regulation.
So how does wisdom help us regulate our emotions, especially when we're dealing with all that inner chatter?
Well, wisdom allows us to see our emotions from a more detached and objective perspective. It's like having this wise elder within us who can offer guidance and perspective when our emotions are running high.
So instead of getting swept away by those waves of anxiety or anger, wisdom helps us stay grounded and make more thoughtful choices.
Exactly. And it also allows us to cultivate a more compassionate and forgiving attitude towards ourselves and others. This is especially important when we're dealing with negative self-talk or criticism from others.
So wisdom is not just about making smart decisions. It's also about cultivating a more peaceful and accepting inner state.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that life is full of ups and downs, and that we don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and happiness.
This has been so insightful. I'm starting to see how understanding our inner world, both the chatter and the wisdom, can be truly transformative. It's like we have the power to rewrite our own internal scripts and create a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
And that's what makes this journey of self-discovery so exciting.
Wow, it really feels as we've been on this incredible journey exploring this hidden world of our inner voice. We've uncovered how it works, how it can sabotage us with that relentless chatter, and most importantly, how we can harness its power to live better lives.
Yeah, and it's a journey that never really ends. The more we learn about ourselves, the more we realize there's always more to discover. But even just having these tools and techniques in our mental toolkit can make a huge difference.
I love that, a mental toolkit. It's like we're equipping ourselves with the knowledge and skills to become the architects of our own inner worlds.
Exactly. And that's incredibly empowering. We don't have to be at the mercy of our negative thoughts or emotions. We can choose to cultivate a more positive and supportive inner dialogue, one that helps us navigate challenges with resilience, pursue our goals with passion, and connect with others with more empathy and understanding.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired right now.
Me too. And remember, this is just the beginning. There's a whole universe of knowledge and insights out there waiting to be explored.
And that's what we're all about here, right? Diving deep into these fascinating topics that can help us live richer, more meaningful lives.
Absolutely. So if you enjoyed this exploration of the inner voice, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future episodes.
Yeah, we're always digging into new ideas and sharing practical tips that you can apply to your own life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep listening to that wise inner voice.